Welcome to Reflections, a program where we discuss values and virtues for the transformation of the individual and the society in general. I am Father George Ehusani, and I have with me in the studio today Mrs. Tochi Opara. She's an attorney mediator, right?
Yes, I am.
What does attorney mediator mean?
It means a lawyer who can do both solicitorship and litigation work. The mediator aspect of it is that I'm also an ADR practitioner, alternative dispute resolution practitioner.
Okay. You wrote this book, Parenting, 21st Century Parenting.
Yes.
Which was published in May last year, right?
May this year.
May this year.
We launched May this year.
Okay, it was launched. It was produced during the lockdown.
Yes, it was.
And launched this year. Parenting in the 21st century or 21st century parenting. I like us to discuss this topic because it's actually a topic after my heart. I happen to have lived a major part of my life in the 20th century, and by the time it was the year 2000, I think I was already about 45 years old.
Wow.
And the challenge I have is that within my lifetime, so much has happened when it comes to family life, marriage, family life, and parenting.
Yes.
So much has happened. The amount of changes that the world has witnessed
Yes.
in the last 100 years, and particularly in the last 50 years, perhaps 300-400 years before did not witness those changes.
All that didn't happen.
Yeah, in 400 years.
Yes.
What we have seen in 50 years.
Or probably less.
Or probably less. So, the speed of changes, the sheer upheaval, what it means is among the institutions that have suffered the most on account of this speedy change, the family. The family has suffered a major upheaval. The changes that have come to family life, the relationship between husbands and wives, parents and children.
Yes.
On account of that, we have now gotten fallouts, casualties. And part of the casualties is children. Upbringing of children.
Yes.
So, what is happening with parenting in the 21st century? If I may just ask like that. What's happening? What's going on?
Thank you very much, Father, for having me. It's a pleasure. I like the background you've painted because we are in an era like none other. This 21st century is characterized by a lot of changes that are happening at breakneck speed, chief of which is the internet.
The internet.
We are parenting in a global space. It's no longer a private thing, community-based, nice father, mother operating in that little circle and all that. There's a bigger world, like we're in a fishbowl. So you find out that with these developments have come also rapid social value systems and changes, some of which are not localized anymore.
Value systems are changing.
Value systems are changing fast. And because it's happening in the public space, we are inadvertently imbibing some of these without being very conscious. I give you an example. You see the way young people dress today? Somebody sits in the comfort of their homes, both parents and children. You're watching TV and you're seeing some crazy dressing out there, glamorous, being celebrated. The parent is beginning to like drop their guard, their consciousness of
and accept some of these things.
You are imbibing. There's desensitization going on.
What you just said now.
Yes.
The recent reality show, Big Brother.
Big Brother.
That show, I'm told that one of the participants in the house who was nearly completely naked, that the mother or father came out and said that she's very proud of her daughter.
It must be
that
the mom.
that her daughter is not ashamed of her body, so she's proud of her daughter.
Values. So before you couldn't imagine a parent mother supporting nudity or semi-nudity. But today we are happy to say yes.
I'm proud of my daughter. For being proud of her body.
For being proud of her body. Nobody should shame her. So this is just that kind of subtle shift in values. And then we are being desensitized without knowing. People are being desensitized, and the nuances are subtle, but they are.
Do you think that it is in every case that people don't know? There are instances where people don't want to have anything to do with traditional values. They think traditional values have not gotten us anywhere, so they are throwing it away.
Because we are being sold a lie. Popular is cool. Popular is not cool. And popular is not always decent. So everybody is doing it. So why not me? Everybody's out there now. Why should my own be different? So there's this thing about, oh, it's popular. So people are no longer saying, is that correct?
To what extent have what we are suffering in this society today, to what extent is it a fallout of our being more or less a conquered people? I mean, I'm talking of 400 years of slave trade, and then 100 years of colonization, and then our ever worsening economic fortunes that make us to just look at America, look at Hollywood,
the Western world,
as the model,
the paragon,
of
what people should aspire to be.
Yes,
there's something Ngugi wa Thiong'o, the novelist, said. He said the second wave of colonization would be worse than the first. The first time we were captured. This time around, we are
selling ourselves.
Willingly and joyfully embracing strange values, which are not us.
Patrice Lumumba, the lawyer, the Kenyan lawyer, said that the second colonization of Africa has started, and that it will be more ruthless than the first. It would be.
We are seeing it, Father.
I mean, now we are the ones saying,
Come and get me.
We have no values.
I don't have any values. I stand for nothing.
Yes.
I take yours.
Yes. And then, unfortunately, it is the rotten part of Western civilization. The rotten part.
That we are embracing and accepting.
The more glorious part of Western civilization is what gave them care for widows,
reformation,
welfare,
civics.
Yes. Courtesy, integrity, all the kind of things promoted by Transparency International, by Red Cross, by all these agencies that stood for human life,
lives.
Now, we are not taking much of those ones.
No.
The ones we are taking are the
street
values.
We are taking street values. Yes.
The boardroom values, we are not taking them.
No.
We
don't have the discipline and the appetite for that personal integrity. Internal government, it is lacking. So this is cheap. It doesn't hold anyone accountable.
And it doesn't cost much.
It doesn't cost much. And you become the epitome of what makes you happy. You become the highest point. Your happiness is the highest point of your existence. Happiness at whose extent?
It's more. Do I even call it happiness?
It's happiness. Pleasure. Okay, pleasure. That's a better word.
Yeah, I don't use happiness for that.
That's a better word.
Because we have just read on the Feast of All Saints the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 12, verse 1 to 12, and it says chapter 5, verse 1 to 12, and it says, "Blessed are the poor in spirit," and some people translate that blessed to happy. The translation we read is actually said, "Happy are the poor in spirit." So that happiness is, we call that passage beatitude.
Yes.
Now, beatitudo is not about pleasure. Beatitudo is about ultimate fulfillment
in life.
Those of you who are poor in spirit are ultimately fulfilled. Those of you who hunger for justice are ultimately fulfilled. Those of you who are pure of heart are ultimately fulfilled. So the ones who are smiling for the cameras and the next day you hear that they have been on drugs, they are not really happy.
It's not happiness. It's actually the pursuit of pleasure, unrestrained pursuit of pleasure. And we make pleasure man's ultimate ideal, which is in stark contrast with the Beatitudes.
Yes.
So that's where we are.
So one of the things that we really need to begin to confront and interrogate is the society's concept of happiness.
Yes.
And what makes for happiness.
Yes.
We need to interrogate it seriously because as we are discussing parenting today, perhaps one of the challenges that I'm even seeing is that a lot of people are becoming parents who have little to teach children.
Yes, parents need parenting. We are getting there, where parents need to be parented. And that's why we have to raise the bar. The church is a good place to have that conversation when we cannot miss the opportunity. It's a time like none other. We're looking at the children we're bringing up. Whose value sets? What is the ultimate ideal? To what end are we bringing up children? Is this just for them to be happy and feel cool and join the throng, the masses? There must be people who have a separate mindset, who want to ask deeper questions and face answers that may not be comfortable. Because what it is that the life is beyond me. There is an end game. We are going somewhere. Society must be better because I was born.
In Luke's Terra, here we do have regular public fora.
Yes.
And 2 years ago, we had a forum on parenting.
Yes.
And we made it clear that right now, a lot of people going into marriages and raising children, as you said, need to be parented. Luke's Terra also does workshops for secondary schools.
Yes.
And our experience is that many of those children going into secondary schools and universities today have not been parented.
They are unprepared for the life they are going into.
And in a few years, they become parents. So we are building our monuments on sand.
No strong value systems.
No, because it is values that build society.
Yes.
I tell people that when they talk about dividend of democracy and they are listing bridges and boreholes and this and that,
eateries,
what should really be among the core dividends are values. They are intangible
and transcendental. Yes, they last way beyond the carrier.
Yes.
Or the propagator.
Yes.
They do.
Yes. So, you have, after writing this book on 21st century parenting, you have appeared on TV several times and then spoken at several fora. What, in summary form, is the message that you carry around, faced with the challenges that we are identifying?
The core message is that we are trying to sell a message of nation building inside out. So parenting undergirds society. Societies don't run themselves. Whether it be the nation state, structures, those behemoth organizations, they are run by people. And the quality of their output is determined by the parenting they received. They came from homes. Those homes have father-mother values. If we're ever going to make any change in society, we've got to start from the cradle. The society, the family is a basic building block of society. So if we go back and get it right, by the time we deploy, these children come out into the open space, they are ready. They are driven by ideologies that have humanity at its heart. It's not all about profit. It's not all about marketplace champions. Fine, all well and good. But which society would you be a champion of? What drives that society? At the end of the day, how cohesive does it reflect the mind of God?
One of my intellectual mentors
yes.
is a psychologist, Jordan Peterson. And Jordan Peterson says the solution to the problems of the world begin from the integrity of the individual.
And where does the individual come from?
From the family.
Good.
The family is the cell, the basic cell.
The microcosm, yes. So that's the message. Let's get it right from the cradle. Let's get it right from the home environment. And you cannot model what you're not. So that's why
St. Augustine say, Nemo that quote not have it. You can't give what you don't have.
It's in that book. It's there, right there. That quotation is in this book.
Garbage in, garbage out. So
yes.
What are we going to do? Okay? Perhaps we can institutions like our own, like churches and mosques and so on,
Yes.
can begin to do some work with children.
Yes.
But what about the 30-year-old parents, 40-year-old parents, some 50-year-old parents who have gotten it wrong and have raised children? They now have teenagers, but they have done a bad job.
We
What do we do?
cannot throw up our hands in despair. We've got to start somewhere. And we may not have to look at the humongous work that needs to be done.
Start
Catch
small.
them young.
Start small.
Start
Bravo.
small. Start small. The fire will spread. Every opportunity we have to sell that message. Every opportunity, especially, we are a people of faith. In Nigeria, we love our churches. We're a people of faith. So that is why, where can we get the maximum number at any point in time and sell this message? You have the churches, the faith organizations, you have the schools, you have social organizations. So we cannot say, oh, the problem is way beyond us. We've got to start somewhere. And the earlier we get the awareness, the better. The better it is for us. And we begin to propagate this message. If you get it one child right at a time, that child goes to replicate what they have learned in another space. So that's the way I look at it.
You know, the problem is such that one agency, one set of individuals, we will need the support of a network of organizations.
Yes.
And a network of individuals coming together
to propagate
the
this
most
message.
You see, before now, 50 years ago, when they speak of agents of socialization, you are talking of the church, you're talking of, first of all, the family,
Yes.
the church,
The church, the
the
community,
school.
the school,
good. When you talk of family, it includes when we talk of
the
community,
larger family.
So the family and immediate community, the church and the school, or the
Yes.
mosque and the
Yes.
school. These were the traditional agents of socialization that formed children with the values society wants to propagate.
Yes.
Today, the family and the local community has to contend with the social media, has to contend with the mass media, the television, the radio,
Yes.
and above all, the social media.
Yes.
It's a competition. Parents are in great competition.
It's a huge competition.
And are parents really aware? To what extent are parents aware that they are in competition with formidable forces? Parents spend, maybe a good parent spends an hour, 2 hours with the children a day, whereas the media is available 24 hours.
24 hours, 7 days a week.
So, how are we going to approach this? This lack of time availability of the parents for the children, that is when the parents even have the values, and social media that are trading all kinds of values
Unrestrained.
and taking our children away unrestrained. How do we deal with that kind of situation?
What I say to that is that every parent has got to realize that you're not the only voice anymore in your child's life.
You are actually a minority
You
voice
are a
today.
minority voice. So that is why your communication skills have to be effective.
So,
Effective.
communication skills.
Effective communication still. Time. Most parents, both the children and parents, are pressured for time. In most families, you have the two-parent working model, whether it is private entrepreneurship or paid employment. In the morning, the parents go out. The children are in care, either in school or paid hands. And then what is the entertainment? How do you keep the children engaged? The gadgets are in their hands. The television is there. What else? And even the toys have been configured. You saw the latest Superman coming as a man. Superman is falling in love with a man. So, if a parent realizes, I am not the only one speaking to my child, the environment is speaking. I'm driving my children to school in the morning and they are watching what is going on both sides of the road. You see the beautiful, you see the ugly, you see the despicable. That is speaking to the mind of the child.
Of course.
And I talk about child security. Child security today is not about physical security alone, locks and bolts.
Online security.
The mind of the child, there's a warfare going on to steal the mind and the soul of the child. That is even more significant because you can have the body with you. But what is going on here? is totally different from what you know, what you stand for. So you have to learn about better communication skills. You have to think about the time you spend with the children.
And even for those children that are growing up, teenage children, negotiation skills.
We're getting there. So you have to look at time. Studies say every child needs minimum of 15 minutes quality time with the parents. I don't know how 15 minutes works. Children are overscheduled because parents are trying to fill up time from school, homework, football, game, karate, singing, everything. So the parents come home at the end of the day, fagged out. The children are tired. Where is the quality time? What time do you sit down to
bond first of all,
and then what, decompress? What happened today? How was your day? And you can pick up nuances. If you have engaging relationship with your children, you can pick up. If you're an engaged parent, you should be able to know there's something not quite working right. And you should be able to interrogate in a nice way without being inquisitorial. Pick up nuances you can work on. But when the time is not there, these things, and they find solutions elsewhere. Google is there. They find solutions. They have their peers. They have their WhatsApp groups. They find out. And then I'm chasing bread and butter. I'm raising money. They are going to go to X university. They are going to go to this part of the world. All well and good. But the time belt for active parenting is short. Next, you are going into negotiations. Because a child that is trainable, not an adult whose mind, or young adolescent whose mind is already formed, and the person has taken on fixed views about certain things. You are now having the less authority-based type of parenting. You are negotiating. You're having conversations. You're having dialogue and trying to show, if you do it this way, it will work. And the kind of education we're giving them today, they can choose to go with you or not go with you.
Yeah. So we really have a challenge, and all of us have work to do.
A lot of work.
You are trying your own with the book you have published.
Yes.
But all of us have work to do. So, what about the whole issue of the media? And I'm even speaking, we have very little control on the social media. But what about the regular media? The regular media that seem to be promoting values that are antithetical to
who we are.
Yeah, or who we are, and what will make us survive, what will give meaning, lasting meaning. I see, even in the regular media today, I see people being given space to promote all kinds of things that are not helpful for the integrity of the individual or the family. How do you approach that?
We talked about the second wave of colonialism. I think there's pressure, some unwritten pressure on some of these media houses to align to a particular narrative, adopt it and disseminate it. I get worried that these media houses, at least in Nigeria as they exist, are licensed. And there are laws. We have laws in Nigeria that prohibit certain lifestyles. These aberrant new age ones that are everywhere. Yet you see some of these things.
Well, I have raised that, and I know people in the Nigerian Broadcasting Commission,
yes,
and they say, look, they only act on reports. So there are hundreds of TV stations and radio stations. If Nigerians, people like you and those in your circle, if you do not report, they don't take things up.
You may be right. I remember in the early days of DSTV, I remember them showing some movie which I thought was X-rated during the day. And I remember having made that report, longhand. Yes. I didn't even type it. I made it. I gave the name of the movie. I gave the channel,
the time,
and the timing.
Yes.
And I took it personally to DSTV, and I said, I happen to have been at home with my children.
And this was
And
on.
when I saw beautiful people, I'm like, okay, this would be something nice. And when they did one or two things, I cringed and I turned it off. So I thought this ought not to show. During a belt that children are likely to watch. And I had my conversation, this must have been more than 20 years ago. I had my conversation with whoever was the program manager. She argued a bit with me and said, activate parental. I said, no. time
There are
belt.
time belts. The time
belt.
when children, yes.
The time when children, you should be culture sensitive. What that movie was propagating isn't us. It doesn't. What is the essence of your entertainment? What is the essence? What is the philosophy? Are you, by the time, but I realized that they pulled it. So it's just to back up what you're
so back
saying.
up the fact that a lot of Nigerians are complaining.
Yes, and we
But
complain to ourselves.
we complain in our cupboards.
Yes.
We do not, for a Nigerian to take his pen.
Activist mindset.
Yes, to take his pen or her pen and write something to the Broadcasting Commission, to the advertisers group.
Yes.
Because you see, some of these things are adverts.
Yes.
And there are standards in advertisement, public advertisement.
Yes.
But since Nigerians don't complain, so perhaps one of the things we are saying in this program is
they have to be more engaged. The regulatory organizations also have to be more engaged.
Yeah, but they are saying
the citizens have to have an
yes,
activist mindset.
The viewers need to
we
report
don't need
things.
this. We don't want this. I
Yes.
remember seeing a group of Muslim teachers going to a school somewhere in Birmingham or so and saying you cannot incorporate this into the curriculum that our children are being taught.
Yes.
And by the time they picketed the school,
they will remove that.
They took it down.
Yes.
They took it down. So we have to get to that.
On this note, we will bring this segment of our program to an end. I have been speaking to Barrister Mrs. Tochi Opara, who is a mediator and you not only do alternative whatever, you also litigate.
Yes.
But we have been speaking about 21st century parenting and the challenges that face parenting. We shall have a second segment to discuss further on this, but it's been nice having you in the studio.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you.
I'm glad to be here again.